Welcome to our deep dive into political corruption.
But what if I told you there's a new sheriff in town? One who can sniff out shady dealings with the precision of a bloodhound after a dropped sausage. No, it's not a particularly tenacious beagle. It's AI.
Today, we'll be using a pattern-based approach to assess the likelihood of corruption among some of the most influential politicians in the US. We're throwing these politicians into the Thunderdome, armed with nothing but their voting records, financial disclosures, and a whole lot of questionable decisions. Let's get started. First up, we have the reigning queen of Capitol Hill, Nancy Pelosi.
Our AI has detected a pattern of suspiciously well-timed stock trades, often aligning with legislation that directly benefited those companies. Coincidence? Perhaps.
And let's not forget the whole insider trading by members of Congress is perfectly legal loophole.
Our analysis gives Nancy Pelosi a rating of high to severe risk, with a score of 6 to 7. It seems even AI struggles to resist a good insider trading scandal.
Next up, we have the man who could give a statue a run for its money in a staring contest, Mitch McConnell.
Indeed, our AI has flagged several instances of potentially illicit campaign contributions flowing into McConnell-linked super PACs.
And let's not even get started on the whole wife's family business benefiting from his political connections thing.
Mitch McConnell receives a high to severe risk rating, with a score of 6 to 7. It seems even AI recognizes the distinct aroma of swampiness emanating from this particular senator.
Now, let's talk about Dianne Feinstein, the senator who's been in office longer than some of our viewers have been alive. Her tenure in the Senate has spanned decades, making her one of the most experienced lawmakers in the country.
Our AI has flagged a series of questionable stock trades made by Feinstein's husband, a man whose investment portfolio seems to have a sixth sense for impending legislation that benefits his holdings. These trades have raised eyebrows and questions about potential conflicts of interest.
Look, I'm not saying Dianne Feinstein is personally calling up her husband and saying, "Honey, buy stock in this company. I'm about to introduce a bill that'll make them richer than a Bezos after a Prime Day sale." But the timing of these trades is certainly suspicious. But I'm also not saying it. The optics are troubling, and it raises important questions about the ethical boundaries of those in power.
Dianne Feinstein receives a high to severe risk rating with a score of 6 to 7. This rating reflects the potential for conflicts of interest and the need for greater transparency. It appears age hasn't diminished her capacity for potentially shady dealings, which, to be fair, is kind of impressive in a terrifying way. The longevity of her career combined with these allegations makes for a complex and concerning narrative.
Joe Biden, our beloved Amtrak-riding, ice-cream-loving president.
Our AI has flagged several instances where Hunter Biden's business ventures appear to have benefited from his father's political influence.
It's like that old saying, if you walk like a duck, quack like a duck, and your laptop is filled with incriminating emails like a duck, you're probably a duck who's about to be investigated by a congressional committee.
Joe Biden receives a high-risk rating with a score of 5 to 6. It seems even the leader of the free world isn't immune to a little AI scrutiny.
Or something like that. Ted Cruz, the man who's as popular as a root canal at a children's party.
Our AI has detected a pattern of questionable campaign contributions flowing into Cruz-linked super PACs.
Look, I'm not saying Ted Cruz is bought and paid for by special interests, but if he were, I'm sure they'd at least have the decency to send him a first-class ticket to Cancun next time Texas freezes over.
Ted Cruz receives a high-risk rating with a score of 5 to 6. It seems even AI can smell the faint whiff of hypocrisy emanating from the Lone Star State.
Next up, we have Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader and master of the behind-the-scenes deal.
Our AI has flagged a number of instances where Schumer's actions seem to benefit his donors, often at the expense of his constituents.
Look, I'm not saying Chuck Schumer is corrupt, but I am saying that if you ever see him walking down the street, you should probably check your wallet afterwards.
Chuck Schumer receives a moderate to high-risk rating with a score of 5 to 6. It seems even AI can sense when someone's playing a little fast and loose with the rules.
Lindsey Graham, friend or foe? Spoiler, it depends on the day.
Our AI has detected a pattern of, well, frankly, it's a bit all over the place.
Lindsey Graham. The senator who's as predictable as the weather in a hurricane season.
Lindsey Graham receives a moderate risk rating with a score of 5. It seems even AI can't quite figure out what makes this senator tick.
It's enough to give you whiplash just trying to keep up.
Next up, we have Kevin McCarthy, a man who's about as genuine as a $3 bill.
Our AI has flagged several instances where McCarthy's actions seem to be motivated more by political expediency than by any deeply held beliefs.
Look, I'm not saying Kevin McCarthy would sell his soul for power, but if he did, I'm pretty sure he'd negotiate a bulk discount.
Kevin McCarthy receives a moderate risk rating with a score of 5.
Now let's talk about John Cornyn, the senator from Texas, who's about as exciting as a bowl of oatmeal. But don't let his quiet demeanor fool you. There's more to his story than meets the eye.
Our AI has detected a pattern of cozy relationships between Cornyn and various industries, often resulting in legislation that benefits those industries at the expense of, well, everyone else. These relationships have raised eyebrows and questions about his true motivations.
Look, I'm not saying John Cornyn is corrupt, but his actions do make you wonder where his loyalties lie. But I am saying that if you ever see him having dinner with a lobbyist, you should probably ask for separate checks. It's always good to be cautious.
John Cornyn receives a moderate risk rating with a score of 5. This rating reflects the potential for conflicts of interest in his political dealings. It seems even AI can smell the faint odor of cronyism wafting from the Lone Star State. The question remains, will the voters of Texas take notice?
Last but not least, we have Jim Jordan, the congressman who's about as subtle as a sledgehammer in a china shop. Known for his aggressive style and no-holds-barred approach, Jordan is a force to be reckoned with in the political arena.
Our AI has flagged a number of instances where Jordan's actions seem to benefit his donors, often in the form of deregulation and tax breaks. These actions raise questions about whose interests he truly represents, his constituents or his financial backers.
Look, I'm not saying Jim Jordan is on the take, but his legislative moves often align suspiciously well with the interests of his biggest donors. But I am saying that if you ever see him walking down the street, you should probably hold on to your wallet a little tighter. His policies might just lighten it for you.
Jim Jordan receives a moderate risk rating with a score of 4 to 5. This rating reflects the potential conflicts of interest that arise from his financial backers. It seems even AI can sense when someone's bark is worse than their bite, or, in this case, their campaign contributions. The question remains, who is Jim Jordan really fighting for?
So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the murky world of political corruption as seen through the eyes of AI.
Well, that's the thing about AI. It can expose the rot, highlight the patterns of corruption that have become all too common in our political system.
In the age of AI, can corrupt actions continue to take place in the shadows? How do we restore faith in the system? We ask politicians, law enforcement, and justice professionals to reflect on these questions. And to the American people, use the pattern-based approach we've discussed, interact with AI, draw your own conclusions, and vote accordingly.